It's Thursday morning. It's time for us to have fun on the Our Town program on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. My name is Darren Swenson. Our Town, as always, brought to you by our good friends at Decorah Bank and Trust. Coming up a little bit later on in the program, we'll talk to Sean Snyder with Winneshiek County Emergency Management. The county is in the process of updating its hazard mitigation plan, and you can get involved. And Sean will talk to us about that. Last Saturday, Helping Services for Youth and Families held their annual mentoring bowl-a-thon down at the Kingpin Entertainment Center in Decorah. We'll talk about that, and we'll talk about the mentoring program as a whole with Kathy Schwartzhoff from Helping Services for Youth and Families. But we'll kick off the program this morning. Talk to Clayton Burke. He is with the Iowa DOT. Of course, one of the big news stories early on in this year has been the Blackhawk Bridge between Lansing and DeSoto being down. And progress is getting made to get that thing back up and going. And we'll talk about that with Clayton, the latest on the bridge, and when they hope that bridge can get back open and other things. He will be our leadoff batter. It's opening day. Got to wear the Cubs hat today. And got to use analogies like leadoff batter, at least in my opinion. This is Our Town. It's brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust, and you're listening to it on 94.9 and 99.1 The River. Checking in with the latest regarding the Blackhawk Bridge between Lansing and DeSoto with Clayton Burke of the Iowa Department of Transportation. And Clayton, what's the latest regarding getting that bridge back up and running? What have you been able to do here in the last couple of weeks?
Hey, Darren. Yeah, so the contractor's been working 7 days a week, long hours to get the bridge back open. To date, they have finished or nearly completed one of the piers that'll be used in the repair of the existing bridge. And then the other pier that needed to be replaced, they have all of the foundation pile driven, and they should have that ready to start welding the pier together here pretty soon. And their contractors looking like they're still on schedule to have the bridge open by the end of April.
And obviously, now that spring has arrived, the temperatures have cooled down and snow has gotten into the forecast. The weather hasn't slowed them down at all.
Not yet. They've been working through the snow and the intermittent rain. There's not much that slows them out there unless we get a pretty heavy downpour. So looks like in the near forecast we don't see any schedule impacts from weather.
And related to the project itself, has there been any roadblocks or headaches that have occurred in these last couple of weeks, or has it really been full steam ahead?
It's been full steam ahead. They've really been able to progress on the repair items for the bridge to get it back open. The thing we're watching closely is that they are continuing construction on the new bridge. And so there's still some of the existing structure out there that we're not replacing. And we want to make sure that that structure is not moving while they continue the construction of the new bridge. To date, we've seen a minimal amount of movement, which the bridge moves naturally on its own. So we're not sure how much of that would be natural movement and how much is potentially contributed to from the construction of the new bridge. But it's been minimal, and we're excited to see that.
And I'm assuming that's something you check on a pretty regular basis.
Yes, so we have a full-time surveyor now that is checking the bridge throughout the construction process. So they have their survey equipment and they're continuously monitoring it for any movement. The equipment is accurate down to maybe about a thousandth of a foot, so it's very accurate. And they haven't been recording anything more than a couple thousandths of movement in any direction.
What is a safe distance that a bridge can move before it raises any red flags?
That's a really complicated question.
Okay.
It's different for every bridge. In our case, we're holding to the threshold of about 3/4 of an inch that was determined to be the threshold we used at the beginning of the project.
And what is the next steps in this process? What's next on the agenda for the contractor to get that bridge back up and running?
So the contractor will finish those two piers that they're working on. They'll start working on the connections that the bridge sit on that are on top of those piers, and then there's also a connection that they need to redo on one of the existing piers that we did not replace, and they're reusing another one of the existing piers on the east side, and then the eastern abutment. So there's a lot of touch up work that has to be done. And once all of those connection points are set at the exact elevation that they need to be, the contractor will lift those spans of the bridge up that they took off initially, and then they will set those back in place where the bridge was originally before it moved, and it should be ready to reopen.
And related to when all of the work gets all said and done, what type of tests do you do? What type of things do you study to make sure that bridge is as safe as possible before you're going to reopen it?
And then the bridge has to go through a full NBIS inspection before we could open it. So it'll be thoroughly documented that it follows an engineered process, and then it gets thoroughly inspected to make sure that everything is safe for the public to use.
And of course, obviously, bridge safety is in the news and nationally this week with what happened out in Baltimore earlier this week. When you talk about bridge safety, I'm assuming that also includes the travel over the bridge and anything going beneath that bridge, correct?
Correct. So barges are another concern, and it's been in the news. The Baltimore Bridge. We want to make sure that the structure is still stable, and in our case, it's protected by those dolphins or protection cells in the river, and thankfully those are in place. And so we'll document that it's safe for users going over the bridge, and then we still have the protection from those dolphins underneath the bridge that keep it safe.
And I know you've been having that ferry available for people to cross the river from Lansing to DeSoto. How busy has that been? How many people are taking advantage of that?
Yeah, people have been really excited about the water taxi. So we've had about 50 to 60 users a day
Oh,
going across, so quite a few. And we get a lot of positive comments, and people are thankful that they have some option of getting across the river economically.
and anything else folks need to know about where this project is at? And as long as you got the forum, anything else you want to pass on?
Yeah, just if anybody's interested in the progress, keep an eye on our Facebook page and our public website. We'll try to post pictures of the repairs regularly so people can see all the progress that's being made up to the point where the bridge is reopened.
All right, Clayton, we appreciate you taking some time to tell us about the latest regarding the Lansing Bridge project, and hopefully our next conversation can result in that bridge being reopened. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you're awfully busy taking care of a lot of things over there, but it's good to keep the public informed, and we thank you for doing so.
Absolutely. Thanks, Darren.
Clayton Burke with the Iowa Department of Transportation giving us the latest on the Blackhawk Bridge between Lansing and DeSoto. Last Saturday was a fun day in Decorah. It was the 2024 Youth Mentoring Bowl-a-thon held at the Kingpin Entertainment Center, and all of the proceeds help the mentoring program at helping services for youth and families. And here to recap the day and all the good that was done that day is Kathy Schwartzhoff. And Kathy, sounded like a fun day, and B, a great day to benefit a great cause.
Yes, it was a very, very fun day, and we had 71 bowlers, and they and our generous sponsors gave over $9,000. So it was really amazing.
And what do those proceeds go to? How does that help enhance the mentoring program with helping services?
Well, really, it helps provide support, whether it's a background check that we have to pay fees for, if it's an event that we're doing. If it's like last night, I had a training and we had some snacks there. Those kinds of things aren't covered by grants. And that's the thing that's interesting too, is some funding sources are very specific about what they'll cover and what they won't cover. And the Bullathon oftentimes makes up for some of those things that aren't covered under grant sources. So it really helps us keep things running smoothly and getting as much support to the mentors and the youth and the families of the kids that are impacted as well.
And it all goes to a great cause. Again, I know a lot of people are probably externally familiar with the mentoring program for helping services. Tell us about the program itself. What's it all about? What's the goal? What's the mission? And how folks can get involved?
Mm-hmm. Well, we've had a recent change in our services. We recently have said, instead of offering kids a mentor from 6 to 16, we're expanding that up to 17. So that's something new, and that was based on some funding things as well. But it's basically providing a positive adult role model for youth. And we serve now Almaquis, Clayton, Delaware, Howard, Winneshiek, and Southern Fayette. And Southern Fayette and Clayton are new counties to us. So we're really, really pleased that we got a federal grant that helps us to expand into those other counties. And mentors can be a single person, a couple, a family. We also have a model where people are out in the community doing things. And then there's also school-based mentors who go to the youth school and spends time with them 1 hour a week. So there's lots of opportunity for people. And one of the things that I really like to share too is mentors get to help choose the youth that they will work with. So we don't just say, oh, here you go, Darren, good luck, here's your kid. You get a choice in the process, not only deciding what community you're comfortable traveling to, but interests and a bit about their personality and their family background. And so people really do get a choice in things, because I think that concerns people, that they're going to be assigned a youth that is beyond their capabilities. And we really don't want people to feel like that. We want them to feel like, oh, I'm so excited about this, and I want to spend time with this youth, and I have the tools that I need. Because the tools you need really are to be a friend. It's not anything, huge. But I understand some kids do have more on their plate than others do. And we want to assure people that they're given their youth based on their preferences and that. So I think that's important to share.
And I know this program's been around for quite some time, and you might have just touched on a few of these things, but how has the program expanded since its original start, which I believe was about 3 decades ago, if I'm not
Well,
mistaken, correct?
you're really close. 25 years.
Okay.
We actually started in the Decorah Community School District, not just Winneshiek County. We
Okay.
started back then. And so that expanded to the county, and then Almaquis and Howard. And about 15 years ago, Delaware County came within our wing, so to speak. And then just recently, this past January, we started working in Clayton and Southern Fayette counties. And so, yeah, there's been a huge amount of learning in that process. And when we started looking at the program, we couldn't Google mentoring programs because Google wasn't invented at that point. And so we really worked hard for 2 years prior to starting to kind of get our ducks in a row and that kind of thing. And that was time well spent, because then it helped those other counties to go, oh, we want to do it like that. And you've got the tools. Let's just expand things. So it's been around a while, but we've learned a lot too, and had to accommodate for things like now we have a rule about you can't really be on your phone excessively with your mentor. Well, that wasn't anything that we had to worry about 25 years ago, because it was hand phones that you did the dial thing.
I remember them well.
Yeah, so things have changed a lot, but that's good though, because we always, every 2 years, we would go through our policies and procedures and just kind of update everything so that it was current with the times. And that was a good process to do.
And I'd imagine as you look at what you're doing, you're constantly doing that because things are changing, times are changing, people are changing, but the program needs to continue and do the positive things that it's doing. I'd imagine that's just a constant evolving thing. Is that fair to say?
That's exactly right. We try to be, up to date with things, and we're attending trainings all the time to be sure too that we're on the cusp of what is innovative and happening throughout the nation. I even spoke with someone recently that she's a mentor for a day for us, which is another volunteer opportunity that someone can just come to events. And she was a mentor, a full-time mentor in Sweden. And she said, there's a lack of male mentors in that country as well. And I said, what? I thought that was just the US. And she was like, no, I'm pretty sure it's international. So that's something too to think about, is we really have a huge need for men. There's a number of boys who have waited for a long time, and they're looking for a more male mentor, because in their household there are all females, and sometimes it's even generational that grandma lives with them and the parent is there, and they need that positive adult role model.
And again, for those that are interested in becoming a mentor or becoming a mentee, how do they do so?
They can just Google helping services and youth mentoring, and they will get to us. And we've got our own page on our website, an area to click on if you want to be a mentor or if you want your child to have a mentor. One thing that we didn't mention about the bowl-a-thon is we actually had 2 mentor applicants come forth during the bowling process that said, hey, either I want to be a mentor or my husband wants to be a mentor. And that's an outcome that we don't always have during that particular event, but it was very exciting to have that happen right there when we were bowling.
Well, that's a pretty cool thing. And being the fact this program has been around for 25 years, are there any second generation folks involved in this as of right now?
Currently, right now, we don't have anybody that has been like a mentee before, but we have in the past, and very successful ones. There's probably less than a half a dozen that mentees that have turned into mentors. We do have something very unique right now that I have always been the coordinator for Winneshiek County from day one. Well, the first Allen McKee and Howard County coordinator is now back as a mentor. And so that's really exciting that she's gone on to do other things, still in the area, still working with kids, but has said, this impacted her in her work life, but she wants to impact it in her personal life. So that's kind of fun too.
Oh, that's a really neat story. Anything regarding the mentoring program that we haven't touched on? Anything we're missing?
Well, I do want to tell your listeners that the torch is going to pass as far as I am going to be retiring at the end of June. And so Colleen McCann, who is with us, has been with us as an intern, first of all, and then a AmeriCorps member and now a full-time staff person, will continue here. And then they'll be hiring someone full-time to kind of take Colleen will take my place, so that full-time person will take her place. So that's big news.
Obviously, and I imagine, you're looking forward to doing things on your schedule, but at the same time, I'd imagine it was a little hard of a decision for you as well. Is that fair to say?
Yes, that's very fair to say, because there's been lots of lives that have impacted by the work that we've done in the mentoring program, and I've been there the whole time. And so, yeah, it's a difficult decision to make, but I feel like it's in good hands, and that things are just going to grow. When we see here just now, those new counties, they're going to flourish, and the program here will continue. We've seen in January and February, we compared what the amount of mentor applicants that applied or inquired about applying doubled from last year in January and February. And so we kind of felt like COVID kind of had an impact on people wanting to give back to the community, and that's evolving so that people are feeling more comfortable.
All right, Kathy. Well, we appreciate you being a great guest on this program and other radio programs over the years. You're always willing to pass on the good things that are happening through the mentoring program at Helping Services for Youth and Families. Thank you for what you've done for the community, and thanks for being a guest all these years. And I get the feeling I'm probably going to have more conversations with you on the air, because you're not going to be a person that's just going to sit around and be bored in retirement. You'll be pretty involved in the community. Thanks for the time this morning, and enjoy the last 3 months of work, and then enjoy your own schedule.
I will do that. And folks will be hearing that I'll have a retirement party, and I want people to come and visit and have a snack and have a piece of cake and celebrate with me, because there's been lots of people that I've met and had wonderful relationships like you. So I want to have them come and celebrate with me. So there'll be more about that in news media. So
And we'll definitely pass that one along. Kathy Schwartzhoff from Helping Services for Youth and Families, talking about mentoring. Having a conversation this morning with Sean Snyder. He is the Emergency Management Coordinator in Winneshiek County. And Winneshiek County Emergency Management and the 911 Communications Center is beginning the process of updating the county-wide multi-jurisdictional, multi-hazard mitigation plan. And Sean, before we get into the specifics of this, let's define what a hazard mitigation plan is.
So a hazard mitigation plan is something that every county, every jurisdiction needs to do. By having a multi-jurisdictional plan, what we're able to do is we can save time, save taxpayer dollars. The county will initiate the plan, and then each of the municipalities within Winneshiek County can simply adopt our plan and call it their own. We've done this for several years now. It's worked very well. This plan is a FEMA requirement that comes around every 5 years. So we are kicking that off, I believe, next week already.
And how often are you required to update this plan?
Every 5 years. It's a FEMA requirement. So this plan, in my opinion, is one of the more important plans for the county. This plan allows governmental agencies like cities, county, to receive money back after a disaster. So let's say there's a flood. By having this plan in place, they can receive money back specifically for mitigation projects. So let's say there's a flood in the area, and something that is damaged that holds water back, whether that be whatever, let's say the levee here in Decorah. they could receive money back to repair that and make improvements. So it's very, very important.
What all goes into this planning process?
Really, community involvement is key. So Winneshiek County Emergency Management, we partner with Upper Explorer Land here in Decorah. They help craft the plan with my guidance. And really what we really would love to see is a lot of community involvement. This year, something new is maybe people have seen the online survey that I've been pushing out on social media. That is really the crutch to everything. So the more people that fill that out will help guide us as the committee members to help narrow down what hazards the community feels are vital and important.
And what type of questions will folks be asked in this online survey?
Sure. So it'll kind of start out with just very general. It's anonymous. You don't need to fill out your name. You don't need to fill out your contact information. It'll ask you simply like, do you live within a municipality? And it'll give you your choices of the municipalities here or do you live in the rural area of the county? How long have you lived in the area? Do you work or live in the county? Questions like that. And then it dives right into kind of the hazards. And I have all the hazards laid out that I use. So people don't have to come up with hazards. They're right there, and you simply check the ones, you kind of rate it for me as to what is important to you. And that really helps guide me moving forward with developing this plan.
Where can folks find this survey?
So if you go to, if you follow my Facebook page, for example, Winneshiek County Emergency Management, it's on there. I'll go ahead after we're done here. I'll put it back out to the top so people can find it. Otherwise, Upper Explorer Land has a link. If you go to their website, I believe that Winneshiek County has also put the link on the county webpage for me as well.
And how long do people have to fill out this survey? Is there any sort of deadline?
So the sooner the better. There's no actual deadline that I'm putting to it right now, but just know that the committee will kick off the meetings next week. This will probably take almost a year to complete. So this isn't going to be something that's done overnight. So I'll collect as much data as I can. And as the committee dives further through this, I'm sure I will make an announcement as when the deadline will need to be for us to stop collecting data.
And once the committee decides on the plan itself, what's the process from that?
So from there, it'll go to Iowa Homeland Security and Emergency Management, where they will do a review of our local plan. Once they review it, then they push it off to FEMA out in Kansas City for our region. And then FEMA will review it and approve it. This plan needs to be approved by FEMA before March of next year. So once things get rolling, it'll move pretty quick.
And what are some examples of perhaps how having this plan has helped fund some repairs, if you will, from natural disasters here in Winneshiek County?
That's a great question. So I'm immediately think back to like the 2016 flood. Let's say the city of Spillville, for example, they were able to tap into some mitigation dollars to help restore the bank of the Turkey River down there in their city parks. I know the city of Decorah has used it in the past to make repairs to the levee system. We've actually used, as a county, we used those mitigation dollars for the home buyouts that we did after 2016 in Freeport, and the city of Spillville did a couple in there as well. So all that money kind of comes from the hazard mitigation funds. After every presidential disaster here in Iowa, a set percentage of the overall costs of damage is kind of earmarked for mitigation. And without having this plan, those governmental agencies can't tap into that set amount for mitigation.
And that brings up an interesting question. You bring up federal disaster areas. What's the difference between a federal disaster declaration and a state disaster declaration?
Sure. So I'll give you I'll give you the as high level overview answer as I can for your question here, so we don't put people to sleep on your show. So think of FEMA as two branches. There's the public assistance, which is dollars back to city, county governments, just like I've been describing, and then there's also the individual assistance. So that would be the people getting money for their homes, for example. The PA side is much easier to tap into because it's dollar based. So how that works is Winneshiek County experiences a disaster. I have to exceed about $80,000 in Winneshiek County costs before I can reach out to the state and say Winneshiek County has received a disaster and I'm asking for help. Now you might be thinking $80,000 doesn't seem like that much, but remember I can't count any insurance or any insured items. So if you say you have a house, $100,000 home, you have insurance for $95,000 that I can only count $5,000. So you can kind of see how 80,000 doesn't seem, it seems like a low number in the grand scheme of things, but it takes a while to exceed that. So then from there, all the other counties have their own dollar thresholds. And if enough counties exceed the state threshold of about $5 million, then the governor can reach out to the federal government and say the state has received this and we need assistance. So it starts and ends locally, goes to the state goes to the federal government. Assuming the federal government says yes, we will send money back to the state, and then it funnels back down to me here in the county.
Anything we're missing? Anything else the public needs to know regarding this process?
No, just I think I want to thank everyone for their time and filling out the survey. I've already had quite a few responses, so it's been fantastic.
John, appreciate you taking some time to talk about this important issue, and thanks for what you do to keep our community as safe as possible. And here's hoping you have a very boring summer.
As always, Darren, it's my pleasure. Thank you.
John Snyder with Winneshiek County Emergency Management. A tip of the Cubs hat to our guest on the program, Clayton Burke with the Iowa DOT, giving us the latest on the Lansing Bridge project. Kathy Schwartzhoff from Helping Services for Youth and Families talking about mentoring, and Sean Snyder from Winneshiek County Emergency Management. Don't forget, we put these shows on YouTube each and every week. We realize you're busy, can't always be near a smart speaker or a radio or a streaming device at 9 o'clock on a Thursday morning. But this morning we got to talk to three interesting people, and we want to bring those conversations to you on your schedule. If you're out, If you're out and about on YouTube, just go to 3-28 Our Town program. I'm a professional broadcaster, or so I play one on the radio. 3-28 Our Town program. You can look that up on YouTube. And we also put the links up on all of our LA Communications Facebook pages. Another way we do our best to keep you in touch with the community at LA Communications. Thanks to our sponsor, Decorah Bank and Trust. Thanks again to our guest. And thank you for tuning in, for logging on, and for watching Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River.